fully autonomous and doesn't have the ability for a human being to take over. No steering wheel, no brake, no accelerator. And when they were going before the Department of Motor Vehicles in the state, they're saying, we really want to test these cars without a human driver. And yet, the disengagement reports that we got from the Department of Motor Vehicles under the Public Records Act showed that 350 times, roughly, the human driver had to take over from the autonomous vehicle because it couldn't deal with potholes, couldn't deal with rain, it couldn't deal with hanging trees. These cars are not ready for prime time. Until they're safe and fully autonomous and we know the rules they're operating by, we need a human being able to take it over. So that's our conflict with Google. It's that as you test these cars, you really want a human driver there. Now, Google said to the DMV, you know, if we don't get what we want, if we can't build a car that doesn't have a steering wheel and a brake and a pedal, we're not going to sell these cars in California. And DMV says, well, you got to prove to us they're safe first. Then Google went to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, the federal agency, the Department of Transportation, and got a rule that says they can, if they develop an autonomous car, say they can, that they don't have to have a driver in it. They don't have to have a test driver in it. So it's chicken and egg. You know, we are fine with self-driving cars if they really drive themselves, but right now they can't. And we want to make sure that people are safe, and we want to make sure when a robot car comes upon a real serious traffic situation, like a kid in the road, is it going to swerve out of the way like all of us would to try to save the kid? Or is it going to know that you're going to take the driver in a pole and not save that child? We need to know how these are programmed, and we need to know they're safe.
You see the graphic that is off of your site there, that big, is that hitting trees?
These are the reasons that the self-driving car in California, when it was tested, failed, and why human drivers had to come over. It couldn't deal with low-hanging trees. It couldn't deal with emergency service vehicles. It couldn't deal with bicyclists. It couldn't deal with weather. I mean, these cars are not perfected, and the big problem is hand signals, Tony. If you're at a four-way stop, you know, you read a driver's eyes, someone waves you on. A robot car doesn't know how to read a hand signal. It doesn't know how to read a traffic cop's hands. I mean, this is a long, and this is what the fundamental problem is. Robot cars may work fine, particularly after you have vehicle-to-vehicle communication, if there weren't human drivers. But they're going to have to share the road with the rest of us.
Exactly.
I think Google has a different idea. I think they don't want human beings driving anymore. And I think that's antithetical to what Americans want. There was just a survey out saying most people don't want a self-driving car if they can't take it over.
All right. You mentioned something almost in passing that is very timely, and I think a lot of people have not thought about it, and that's privacy. Privacy in your robot car.
Well, why is Google developing a robot car? I mean, Google is an advertising agency. 98% of its revenue comes from advertising, from search advertising, other advertising. It wants to know everything about us so it can get us connected to advertisers who would pay it. You know, when you have a self-driving car with this type of technology, or a robot car, it's going to be keeping track of every driver's movements. It's going to keep track of data more than just the movement of the car. It's going to know the things around it, and it's going to know the people in it. And so when the bill was going through the legislature a couple years ago to do self-driving car testing, we said, well, just say you're not going to use the data you collect for anything other than operating the vehicle. No marketing purposes. Google would not agree. So now all we got is an amendment that says they have to tell you what they're collecting and why they're collecting it, but they can use it for any purposes. So I really do think that this is an information gathering machine as much as it is an autonomous vehicle for Google.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.